source management solution. What do we really know about the open source components that we are using? Where they came from where we download them. I would like to talk to you today about a few things. The first one will be the challenges of managing the open source components. We will go to a case study that was very public last year. I will introduce you WhiteSource, and we will talk about the WhiteSource approach. Remember, open source is awesome, but it needs to be managed. Challenging using open source. Open source components are all over the world. If we are looking 20 years ago, we were up to 10% of our open source, of our code base based on open source components. 10 years later, it comes to 50. Today, we are talking about almost 80% of our code base is open source components. So what are the 4 challenges that we are talking about in related to open source? The first one is know what you're using. If you don't know what you're using, you don't know how to protect. Tracking manually open source components, it's almost impossible due to the high usage of the components and, of course, the transitive dependencies. Secure your product. One important thing is defect in open source is defect in your product. The community is often quick to fix an issue in open source, but we need to know about it, and we need to update our open source components. The third one is ensure compliance. We need to ensure that the component that we download is indeed an open source component with a proper license. We need to know that we are using a compiled license. And the last thing is in compliance equal to legal and business risk. The fourth and the last challenge is outdated components. We use component, we download it from the internet, and we leave it there. What about the defects? What about the issues that comes with the open source? We need to make sure, and we need to be aware of the open source bug and make sure to update them and fix them. Last year was a huge case around the world regarding to Equifax. Before we go through the accident, I would like to introduce you 2 main actors that related to this story. The first one is a company named Equifax. Equifax, just in case any of you don't familiar with them, it's a huge credit card company that collects sensitive information about 100 million individuals as well as companies. The second actor is an open source component, a very common one called Apache Trust, a free open source framework. So now we can switch gears and we can look on the sequence of the events of what happened with Equifax. On March 7th, 2017, there was a rumor about a new vulnerability. 3 days after that, the NVD published a CVE that related to this issue. On the same day, they already released a fix for it. It took almost 2 months before Equifax got attacked by hackers, meaning Equifax had 2 months to get protected, to update the component and avoid this attack. The attack lasted almost 10 weeks until Equifax understood they are under attack and discovered they are under attack for the last 2 months and sensitive information is stolen. From that point, it took almost 6 weeks until Equifax released an announcement that they were under attack and update the component. The chart you see here illustrates how fast the hackers react for new information. The attack increased from 0 to 2,000 attacks in one day. The message from this story should be, hackers do not wait. So if you really want to protect your product, you must react fast. WhiteSource. Who is WhiteSource? WhiteSource is the first open source management solution in the market to address the security aspect of open source. We have hundreds of customers from Australia to California. Remember the 4 challenges that we talked about? WhiteSource covers all of them. Let's go one by one. Know what you're using. WhiteSource detects all open source components, including dependencies. We support over 20 programming languages. What about secure your product? We have a proprietary algorithm that matches between the vulnerability and the only impacted components, which make no false positives. We continue to track the post-release version. Even though you are not maintaining them, they are part of our inventory, and we keep tracking them in order to alert about new vulnerability or license issues that related to the components in the post-release versions. Ensure compliance. We provide the license, the reference link, and full risk assessment per version. So you have all the information in one place. We are automatically have release management documents that you can use with your software in order to give your customers all the information about the open source component that you are using. Quality of the components. We calculate a quality score per version which aggregate parameters like open bugs, bug fixes, and version activity that will give you the information if you have any quality issues in your components. Drive shift left. Think about that. As early as the issue detected, the cost of it is less expensive. There is a big difference if we detect the issue at the beginning of the software lifecycle or at the end when we already have a version in production. So as early as we can detect the issue, it will be better for us. We need to start monitoring our open source component at the beginning of the lifecycle. And for that, we have the Web Advisor. The Web Advisor is an add-in, a browser add-in, that for every web browser that you are on, we are searching for open source components and give the proper alert about this open source component. This add-in is connected to the account at WhiteSource, that if you create any policy that's related to license, to defects, you will get the alert if you can download this specific components, or you should not use it. Supported tool and environments. I'm sure all of you can see here the supported tool that you're familiar with. We have everything in our product. It doesn't matter which language you're using. It doesn't matter which framework you're using. As long as you have the open source component in your code base, we will detect it and get the proper license and the proper information about the vulnerability. Some of our customers, you can see communication customers, you can see enterprise customers, you can see gaming, you can see banking, embedded, it doesn't matter. We support the open source component. We are not It doesn't matter if you are on the entertainment part, in the IoT part, as long as you download a component, an open source component, we have the ability, the proprietary algorithm, in order to scan the code base and identify it. Forrester Analytics is basically a company that compare between products, equal products or same products from different vendors, and decide who is the best in two terms, in offering and strategy. As you can see here, Forrester said that WhiteSource have the best offering in the market. Maybe we are not the oldest company in the open source area, but we are definitely the strongest one. Microsoft and WhiteSource. Microsoft decided that WhiteSource is the open source management of Microsoft. We have a dedicated plugins for the VSTS and TFS in order to allow the developer to find issues about the open source components early as possible. We even have WhiteSource Vault that is an add-in in the VSTS. You can download it from the Microsoft store. As you can see here, the whole ecosystem has chosen WhiteSource. We talked about Microsoft, we have IBM, we have Micro Focus, we have Serena, and we have Checkmarks. All of them are our partners and decide that WhiteSource is the best solution in the market. You want to know more about open source management? You should contact Switch. Switch is WhiteSource local partner here in Turkey that know everything about open source management and can share with you all the information about WhiteSource, how to start, what to do. So you have WhiteSource here in Turkey. You just need to give them a call. Remember, open source is awesome, but it must and need to be managed. Thank you very much.